is Jenny Hudson bringing you the Author Connection, the voice of independent authors. And today I have Kathleen Rowe with us, and she is the author of Exploring the Charles River. And this book just came out. And Kathleen is has been an English teacher, and she loves the environment and she loves the Charles River. And she's going to tell you all about her adventures with the river and the books. So welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you, Jenny. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you.
Yeah.
So, Kathleen, what brought you to writing this book?
It started with my first experiences of it many years ago, which were different things like biking along the river, taking sailing, and even a course I took once. And it just, I started then researching and exploring, going out, taking pictures, and then I really accumulated a lot of information. And it just said to me, you have to do something with this. So that's when I said, okay, I have to write a book about this. There's just so much here. There's a lot of history, and then there's the whole part about environment.
So did you actually research the history as you were writing this?
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm.
What was your biggest discovery?
Some of the most surprising discoveries had to do with the fact that it really wasn't, the history of this river really, really goes back to the first explorers in the 1600s thinking that they had discovered this major inlet and a huge river. It turns out the river itself is not huge. It's just that they had found the estuary, and that's why it's the bay. It's what we call Massachusetts Bay. And it just, it was kind of a surprise to see how people viewed this in the very beginning.
Oh, that's really interesting. So in your travels along the Charles, what is your favorite place of all the places in the Charles?
I have more than one, actually.
Okay. Top three.
Okay, the top three are the gorge in Newton. Hemlock Gorge is wonderful. It is a beautiful place. Then there's the another one that I really, really enjoy.
Is that what's on the cover here?
Actually, no. That is a pedestrian bridge that's over Newton Lower Falls.
Okay. But that Hemlock Gorge that's the one with the bridge in the book.
Hemlock Gorge is inside, in the Newton section.
Okay, all right, sorry.
I like the greenway. With the trail that you can get on your bicycle and ride from, say, Watertown Square to Newton, and they're working on extending that as well. And I've been to the historical site in Natick and the Elm Bank. So there are a lot of places that are good to go to.
Yeah, it's amazing how diverse the river is. I mean, it's very urban in Boston, and yet it's very country and wild as you get up further west.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. It's like a totally different river when you're there.
Right.
And it's not considered a long river, even though it's 80 miles, as other rivers are, longer. But it is, as you say, so varied. It's amazing.
Right. So, what about hiking? Are there trails that people can go on that you've experienced?
Yes. A friend and I have done a few hikes, and there is a lookout that looks out over the Charles River floodplain in Medfield that is quite a sweeping view. And it's not a difficult hike.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's one lookout or outcropping that's called King Philip's Outlook. He was the major Indian of the Algonquin tribe, or the Algonquin nation, who was fighting against the English because he was afraid they were going to take over. And he was ill-advised to do that because they were in a minority at that point because of disease and everything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's really very interesting. So what is in the future for the river, and what do you see happening?
Well, I see it only getting better. But I will say this. One of the things that I noted is when I was here earlier in the 70s, the river was always the joke that it's so dirty, and you heard the song about Muddy River.
Dot, 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 right.
Yeah, that dirty water.
Yeah, right.
The dirty water, yes, by the Standells. And it was so bad that one time, it is true, Kevin White, the mayor, did fall in And he did have to get tetanus shots.
Oh, that's hilarious. I didn't know that.
I couldn't believe it. So that's where that all started from. And
you
then
can swim in it now.
It's a certain time of the summer, maybe around June or so, they'll do a water quality to see how it is in Boston at the basin. And they'll have an event, and this is through the Charles River Conservancy, where people will jump in and swim for a while, and it's going to get better and better. The grade B is what they're, trying to see as much as possible. And we can thank the Charles River Watershed Association for that, and we can also thank the Charles River Conservancy for these wonderful improvements we've seen over the years.
I couldn't believe it. Last summer, I saw someone jump in the canal right off of Kendall Square and just swim out to the Charles.
Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, I was shocked. What?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, they have great cruises, and I want to take part in one in May. The Paddle Boston group that has all these different sites where you can rent a canoe or kayak. There are sunset cruises out on the basin and other times when you can go out and really see a lot.
Right, and there's a lot of ways to enjoy the river. I know, personally I kayak on it a lot, but, I see people on paddle boards and sailboats and, tours and duck boats and, private boats.
Oh, yes.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So how can people get involved if they want to be helping the evolution of what's happening?
Well, there are those organizations I mentioned. The Charles River Watershed Association, well established since the 60s. Every year has their cleanup in April. And then there is also their Run of the River around that same time, where people can take their boats and they can take part, different levels, depending on how far they want to go. And then there's the Charles River Conservancy, where you can get involved in cleanups of the shoreline.
Oh.
And also take part in some of the many events that happen there. So there's a lot of person. Oh, and one more thing. There are parts of the river where there are a lot of chestnuts, water chestnuts, and they kind of strangle the river in terms of the circulation.
No kidding.
So people can go out in boats, or they were doing that for a while, and harvest those. Or there's also a boat or two that goes out in the summer to pick up trash.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So have you personally been doing these sorts of things?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I haven't gone out in the boat yet, although I've been tempted to. But I have done cleanup for the CRW, Charles River Watershed Association. And it's something that it's kind of hard to believe that people throw the things they do, but...
Oh, I know. I've seen people just dump stuff in the river sometimes, and I'm at the point where I yell at them. So what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. I don't get it. But,
I know. I don't understand.
But it is getting better, and that's hopeful. So...
Yeah, it is, and it is getting better, and I'm glad, and I'm so glad that you published this book. So what might I have forgotten to ask you that you might want to talk about?
Well, what next is the question. Well, besides my getting out there and acquainting people with my book, I also want to acquaint them with the possibilities of the river, just in general, and how they can help, how they can be environmentalists. And I would like to do more writing, and I think that would take the form of articles. I would like to do articles about different aspects of the river for magazines or local newspaper venues.
That's great, and you're pretty much an expert on this now with all your research, and I think that you're a good resource, and I hope people take advantage of that. So that brings me to my next question: where people can find you.
Well, they can find me on my webpage where there's a blog. They can look at...
Which is?
It is thecharlesriver.org, or .com, excuse me.
It's explorethecharles.com? Right?
Yes, that's it, thank you.
Yes?
Then, these are all, I'm a newbie right now with some of this.
I know, there's a lot.
Yeah, and then there's Facebook and Twitter, so those are the avenues that, ways that you can find out. And I also plan to speak in person at a lot of venues, including libraries in different towns. So I'm all up for that.
That's great. And Kathleen's book is on Amazon right now, and you can find it there or on her website or on the Merrimack Media website. So, Kathleen, I am so delighted that you have come. And once again, this is her book, Exploring the Charles River, which has got some great photos and all kinds of information that if you're in Boston, you absolutely want to read this book. And anyway, thank you again for being on the Author Connection. And again, this is Jenny Hudson and the Author Connection, the voice of independent authors, brought to you by Merrimack Media at merrimackmedia.com. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.